bring in Congressman William Hurd of Texas, also former CIA, and obviously on the Homeland Defense Committee in the Congress. So sorry to have to be talking to you in this context this morning, Congressman. Obviously, everybody feels the pain of the families affected in Dallas of these law enforcement officers. What do you want people to know?
Well, people need to know that despite this tragedy, we need to be all working together to try to solve these problems. This is a time right now where we should be also praying for law enforcement, because they're the ones right now that are reconstructing the scene to try to figure out what happened, understand the motives, interrogate the three individuals that we have in custody to see if this is a larger plot, to see if law enforcement across the country need to be concerned, and they're going forward in a very professional way. And that the reality is Dallas is already coming together. That shows the resiliency of our American people.
Are you concerned equally as the local police there about what was observed in these murderers, whether it was just the one shooter or more as they originally believed? We don't know where they are on that in terms of the number, but the quality, the movement, how armed they were, the planning of this attack. Does it concern you also?
It does. I think just some of the initial report shows that these individuals had some sophisticated tactics, techniques, and procedures to mount an attack of this sophistication in a fairly short period of time. I believe the peaceful protest had only been planned for probably less than 48 hours, and if this was multiple people being coordinated to be able to go forward on an attack of that level of sophistication, takes a pretty high level of understanding of how to kill people. And this is an issue, again, that law enforcement right now is looking into to see what were the motivations and whether something like this is going to happen in some of our other cities.
I mean, obviously, that's the big concern. Officers waking up all over the country this morning worried about whether or not this could happen in their city as well. Please weigh in on this bigger discussion that's going on. You have two theories right now from the police. One is that these were opportunists that took advantage of a protest to launch this attack, and maybe it's part of a different coordinated effort. We don't know. That's the concern, and they're following that. The other is that this is a manifestation of anger towards the police in what has become increasingly hot rhetoric every time one of these police shootings, and obviously we just lived through back-to-back days of them. How do you see it?
Well, the reality is it's too early to try to determine what those motivations were, right? But these are two larger problems that we need to address going forward in the future. But we got to have facts first to understand what actually happened. The reality is the people that perpetrated these killings are trying to divide American citizens. They're trying to divide the people not only of Dallas but the United States. And we can't let people that are killing innocent folks, right, to divide us as a country. We can't let them win. They won't win because I know the resiliency of our people.
When you think about what they had to do last night, these officers, they knew very early on that they were the ones being targeted. They were actually being hunted by one or more shooters who had superior equipment and superior positioning. And yet, they spent so much of their time and energy protecting others. What does that say to you?
Well, look, it tells you the professionalism of the men and women in blue in Dallas. That one, they were protecting people that were protesting them, right? And not necessarily them in specifically, but in general. And then when things turned wrong, they continue to protect those same people. That is what makes our country so great. This is the dangers that our men and women in law enforcement face every single day. And they do it proudly. They do it without fear. And you know, our heart goes out to all the families that are suffering from the loss of a loved one. And there's still people that I don't think are out of the woods yet. And this is, law enforcement is such a tight-knit community that you have people across the country.
There are politics at play here also when you have the shootings and the response to the police shootings. This is a more obvious case for unity. Obviously, what just happened to these law enforcement officers is just unjustifiable. But, you know, you have Congress down there, and there are questions about, well, what will you do? You know that these shootings continue. You know they put police officers at risk. I'm talking about these use of force shootings. Nobody wants them to be investigated and justice to be applied more than police officers do, because this puts them at risk every time there's an incident where there was bad policing. What can Congress do?
I think Congress can have a sober conversation on this. My fear is anytime something this major happens, that people retreat to their corners and trot out their old tired talking points, and that we need to follow the example of the community in Dallas and actually work together and talk about the solutions together and not try to divide each other. And I hope that we can do that after such a horrific event. But the reality is Congress can lead on having a national conversation on some of these problems. But we have to be, both sides of the political aisle, have to be willing to talk about real solutions, be willing to gather facts on this issue, and make sure that we know, you got to identify the problem first before you're able to move towards finding solutions. And I'm still hopeful that we can do that. It's going to be hard, but right now we need to follow the example of the community of Dallas and heal together, work together, and not let such a horrific action and senseless murders divide us.
Well, Congressman Hurd, obviously all hearts and minds are focused on Dallas this morning, and please let us know how we can help any effort that you have down there to make this situation better. We'll certainly give it attention. I promise you that. And thank you for being